first thing first, let's start with introductions. And, let's talk about our earliest memories with Little Arabia. Who wants to go first? Maybe I'll introduce myself first. Why not? Hello everybody, my name is Amin Nash. I am
can you put it on your collar?
Yeah. Civic Council. I've been with the Arab American Civic Council for 4 years.
Is that me or you?
My earliest memory with Little Arabia actually is a funny story. I grew up in Las Vegas, Nevada in the 90s. So just imagine for anybody listening, how hard is it to find halal food in Las Vegas, Nevada during the 90s? Impossible. So what we used to do, me and my family, we used to put a cooler together, and about once a month we drive down from Vegas right here to Anaheim, specifically to Tayyabat, and we'll get our meats. That's how we had to live. But because Little Arabia was the place that we had it, that was the memory I remember. Specifically was coming here. And that was my earliest memory. I'll go on to my next on the right. Rashad, introduce yourself. I don't think he needs an introduction, but here he is.
The prince.
The Prince of Little Arabia!
Thank you, Amin. Thank you all for being here today. Welcome everyone, the community, our sponsors, the ACC team, the planning committee. Thank you all for all the hard work that we all put together to make this historic event happen. My name is Rashad Adabagh. I'm the founder and executive director of the Arab American Civic Council. We started this organization back in 2011. It's been almost 15 years. Next year it'll be 15 years. So 15 years of hard work to put this organization together to empower Arab Americans in Southern California. And my earliest memory of Little Arabia, actually it was before I lived in the US. I was a tourist back in the 90s, 1995, visiting family here all the way from Saudi Arabia. We were in Saudi Arabia, and I'm here in the summertime. And we visit my uncle who lives in Anaheim, and that's my Armenian side, not the Arab side of my family. So my Armenian uncle used to always say, we're going to go to the Arab store, because he wanted his pita bread, all the ingredients for the food from the Arab store. And that Arab store was Tayyabat. So that's my earliest memory of Little Arabia. And a few years later, when I moved here in 1999, Little Arabia became my destination, my home away from home. 25 years later, it's designated.
Yeah.
Amazing. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Hola, ¿cómo están? Marhaba. My name is Mervet Judah, Mervet like Corvette. I'm a Palestinian American born in Puerto Rico. And my first, I guess you talk about my leadership. I've been advocating for my community and different communities for over 20 years. I am currently the chair of the Arab American Caucus. I'm also on the planning commission for the city of Buena Park, which I love serving on. And I wear a lot of hats. I guess the most important one is that I'm a mother of 3, and that I'm a big advocate for my people and what's happening in Palestine. I try to uplift our community whatever way I can. My first memory of Little Arabia. So here I am, this Puerto Rican kid. I couldn't speak a word of English, and I knew Arabic food because at home I either was eating Puerto Rican food or Palestinian food. And so my dad, they take us to Zanku chicken? What is it called now? Now I'm like beyond that. We're so much more. There's so many more restaurants now. And I was just so happy to be in a place where I felt where I was seen. We went to markets where the spices and foods and halal meats were available, and restaurants where we ate foods that you would eat in Palestine or in Jordan or in any Arab country. So I felt seen. Like I said, as a Puerto Rican child in LA, I didn't feel so very seen. So as an Arab person, I really felt like Little Arabia wasn't just a staple for me, but everybody in my community and my family. Thank you.
Thank you. The common theme I heard, for all 3 of us, it sounds like the 1990s was a very important year. Early 2000s was a very important year for us around Little Arabia. Being around here, eating the food, smelling the smells, being around the spices, going to Zanku Chicken to enjoy the food. That early time, we all share those memories. And that leads me to think about questions about Little Arabia and the history that brought to it. What are some of the earliest moments of Little Arabia that matters the most. And one thing that comes into my mind from the stories that we know, and Rashad, you can speak about this more, is the story of Little Gaza. Little Arabia and its different name of Little Gaza. In the 1990s, it was known as Little Gaza. And what reasons and what ways was it important to name it Little Gaza, and why and how did it become that name? Rashad, maybe you could touch in on this, or Merve, I don't know if you want to throw something up too.
With Little Gaza, it was actually, there's an area in Anaheim that's known as the Garza Island.
Yes.
And when more Palestinian and Arab and folks from the Middle East that were moving to Anaheim, and we started seeing shops open up, people started referring to it as Little Gaza or the Gaza Strip, and sometimes, sometimes it was referred to it as Little Gaza as a derogatory.
Yes, that's what it was.
By folks from the city, or not the city, but the cops referred to the area. That's the story that was handed down to us. I did not witness that firsthand, but that's the stories that we were told. But then the Arab community embraced it. We embraced it because we are proud of our heritage, and we're proud to be from the Arab world, and for those who are from Gaza, who are from Palestine, of course, we're proud of that. So that was the story of how it started as Little Gaza, which eventually became Arab Town and Little Arabia to be more inclusive of all the Arabs in the area. And I want to give a shout out to my wife and kids who just got here.
Woo! If you're gonna go on that, I want to give a shout out to my sister-in-law Jasmine, who's here with her 3 adorable kids.
I gotta give a shout out to my wife and my family too. Funny story, Rashad actually met his wife in Little Arabia.
I did. I met my wife at Cairo Cafe, to be exact.
Wow. So if you want to get married, go to Cairo Cafe. And it's not a paid advert.
You mentioned Arab Town, Rashad, and Arab Town is, for those, how many people here, by voice, by clapping, by hands, how many of you have been to the Little Arabia Plaza, specifically front of Hada? Yeah, clap.
All of us have. Yeah.
So that plaza is owned by the Alim family, right? Muhammad Alim, Ahmed Alim, and they were one of the ones that came up with an idea to have the Arab Town, and they started publishing magazines called the Arab World. And in that magazine, they started publishing maps. You can still see some of these maps today in many of the publications that come out from these magazines. But they were the leaders that really tried to put Little Arabia on the map in accordance, and in a way for people from Arizona, from Nevada, from other states to know where these shops are and where to find opportunity. Before that, we have to give a lot of shout out to the Khoraki family, who also led the way and opened Tayabats and provided goods and services for this community, because they were emerging and this community was just starting, and they needed specific needs and specific items. One of the stories I remember from the early histories of Little Arabia was the Cleopatra hair salon. I don't know how many women have been to Cleopatra hair salon. How many people have been
got married.
What's that?
If you got married, you went to Cleopatra hair salon.
If you got married, you've been to Cleopatra hair salon.
Or you got engaged. So.
And the reason why that, and Merve, you might know about it too, and all the other opportunities, but the reason why Cleopatra was open was specifically to have private rooms for women who wear the hijab, for women who wear mahajabats. That's why Cleopatra was open. And that goes to tell you what type of market, what type of audience lived in Anaheim at the time. And it's quite incredible to see the growth from there. And seeing the growth from Arab Town, from Little Gaza into Little Arabia now, that was an interesting time, because after, Rashad, you 2010, and then going, Mervet was part of you guys. What was it like in 2010? Starting the magazines and starting the Facebook advocacy and starting the social media. What did you notice? What were some challenges you noticed to start pushing back in the 2010s for this?
It was actually before 2010. I remember in 2008, I spoke, I met the mayor at the time, Mayor Kurt Pringle, and I mentioned to him, why don't we call this Little Arabia? You know, there's an area here, communities come here from everywhere because of the shops and the restaurant and the services they get here. And he was not happy with the idea at all. He completely shut it down. 2010, a community activist at the time, his name was Omar Masri, and I came together and we're like, we're gonna start a campaign to designate Little Arabia. So we started going and talking to city council members and state assembly members about the idea, and we started surveying folks who are attending, who are going to these restaurants to push the idea of Little Arabia. Of course, most of them loved it. Some of the council members were not supportive at the time. But then we started a social media campaign and set up social media pages for Little Arabia to kind of, bring the idea to the public and get them to know what Little Arabia is, what are the restaurants, what are the services, the organization, and the community. And from there, that was kind of our earliest effort, but it wasn't the first effort because, as Amin mentioned, there were leaders in the community before us who started that idea of Little Arabia, such as Ahmed Alam, Bilal Dalali, and many others who kind of were working on the idea of Little Arabia. There was another push in 2014. At the time, we had Mayor Tom Tate, who was, more supportive of bringing folks to Little Arabia. He spoke about it in his State of the City speech, but was not really for the designation. And then we kept, every few years we would go back and start campaigning and talking about Little Arabia, and that leads to our more recent effort. But I'm going to stop here.
Yeah, because something that I know that flowed after you guys started the campaign, started advocacy, and something that big that happened was actually the redistricting process here in Anaheim. For those who don't know, Anaheim before, I think it was 2014, I don't know.
13, yes, I know. I
2013.
was part of the effort. Yeah.
Mervet's going to speak more on that, but
Okay.
before 2013, Anaheim was actually like one big district, right? There's only 3 people. It didn't have representation. And where Little Arabia is, it's in the area of West Anaheim, and it really had low representation. So when Rashad and the other community advocates kept advocating for Little Arabia, the city and the representatives kept coming back saying, well, you don't have enough representation. You don't have enough people fighting for you, pushing for you. And I think that's where Mervet comes in. Mervet, tell us about this process.
It's a little bit complicated. So let's just talk about whenever you have immigrant communities, they come here. It's sometimes hard to assimilate, so you end up living in places where you have people similar to you. So the struggle of Little Arabia is probably the same struggle as Little Saigon, Tokyo, Koreatown, Tokyo. You're gonna have folks. They're gonna call it those names in the beginning as an insult to let people know that a lot of people from that race are in that area. Even though they enjoy your food, they're gonna complain about the signs not being in English, or they're going to complain that too many of you are in the schools or in the shopping centers. But then, I think what happens with most immigrant communities, we embrace that. We embrace it, and hence you have in Buena Park, Koreatown, and in Anaheim, after 20 years of advocacy of Little Arabia. So now let's talk about district elections and how I believe, and others believe, how that impacted representation. So back in the day, you had a large district. So basically in Anaheim, Anaheim Hills is the richest area of Anaheim. If you don't know that, I'm a realtor. It's the richest area in Anaheim. Okay? So most of the folks that would get elected, hey, we have Al Jabbar here. Sorry, I have to say hello. So most of the individuals that usually would win the elections were from Anaheim Hills. There's no issue with that. But the problem is, when you have somebody winning from a specific area, they do not understand the issues that are specific to your neighbors. So people like myself, I work with Accord and different organizations, something I'm very proud of, and we ended up door knocking and calling people I was walking the streets for 4 days a week and making calls to uplift the community and tell them, we need you to support Measures L&M. We need you to understand that district elections are important, because guess what? Guess who gets to represent you? Your neighbor. Your neighbor. And that's what changed everything, right? Because then you have more power and more say in what happens in your city. And I think that that is a big part in getting the different parts, the different communities' needs addressed throughout the city of, if we're talking about Anaheim or Buena Park or any other city, or Santa Ana or any city that's actually elected to do districts. It's an empowering move, and I think even to get elected, the likelihood of getting elected to a district as a minority, or if you're somebody from a disenfranchised community or somebody who's financially challenged, is a higher likelihood if you're running in a district. So that's it. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you. And you were pushing hard, Merve. Like you're pushing hard. A lot of people and the members of the community were really active in the redistricting process, especially here in Anaheim, because all of a sudden the city representatives and the policymakers realized it's out of here. Even though the community has been coming here since the 1980s, 1990s, they've been shopping here. Rashad got married. You know what I mean? There's been community here, and they realized, wow, there's actually people living here and they're alive here. So then all of a sudden they started paying attention more. So something that I think we can all talk about here for a little bit is, we talked about the different names this district went through: Little Gaza, Arabtown, Little Arabia. What was it like for you guys, and then we can go into the actual designation part, but what was it like grappling when people were talking about the name of it? Because the name of this district did cause a lot of interesting conversations, for the least, right? I remember, people, the members of the community was like, oh, I don't want it too much because it'll bring too much attention to us. But then having that name is important. What are some things you guys went through? What are some things about the name of Little Arabia that you saw from this process?
You want to take it or go? Okay. So, like I said, the Little Gaza, I want to make sure that wasn't meant to be a compliment, back in the day anyways. So things that we would hear from elected officials over and over and over again is that this is a divisive move, that naming the district is a divisive move, and then for the businesses that are not Arab-owned businesses or MENA-owned businesses, that would make them feel excluded. So what the AACC team, which I was a part of the board at the time, and other organizers did is we're like, okay, every time they would tell us something, we were like, okay, let's come up with a survey. Let's see what the people say. So what we did is we door knocked, right, Rashad? We door knocked. And so we went and door knocked what we considered the Little Arabia district back then. And actually what we found is that the majority of people did not have an issue with it. I'm not saying that there were few individuals that had an issue with it. May they rest in peace. Just kidding. There was one person that really had an issue with it, but she died. But beyond that, really the majority of people were okay with it. And what I found ironic is that the city of Anaheim advertised the Little Arabia district for years and capitalized on it. I remember one of the most interesting door knocking experiences we ever had, and if you recall this, I mean, we were together when we did this. I knocked on this door of this German woman, an 80-year-old German woman, who basically, she had lived in that house. She was the second generation living in that home. So I was telling her what we're doing. We're knocking on doors to get this Little Arabia designation. She's like, are you kidding me? They haven't called it Little Arabia already? I was like, no, it isn't. And so she told me about the history of the area. And she said, I remember when this area was drug infested, and there were, I don't want to say the word, but people that sell, things that are inappropriate on the streets. And when our immigrant community came from different parts of the Arab world, we improved that area. We improved that area drastically. And for her, she has absolutely no issue because she recognizes the social economic impacts that our community had. And I can't tell you how much it meant to me. It meant so much to me back then. I was like really into selfies. I had to take a selfie with this chick. I was just like, wow. This means so much, and I believe that was a testimony. I mean, we did a lot of testimonies when we were doing the organizing. I want to go backwards a little bit. A lot of these were closed-door conversations prior to 2022. So we would tell the elected officials, here the survey. We've talked to the residents. We've talked to the business owners. Now, as for our community, we tried to petition the business owners. And what made me really sad is a lot of business owners were really hesitant about signing our petition. Do you remember this, Rashad? We would knock on doors. I think I obtained We obtained over 100 signatures, and we actually could have gotten a lot more. But you know what the hesitation was? That they were going to become targets. That somehow, if they were going to benefit, if they were applying to do a renovation, if they were applying for a permit or something, that if they signed on to this petition, wanting Little Arabia, because it would be important to them, that somehow they would become targets. And that really makes me sad, and I bet you that's the story of every immigrant community.
I'm just going to add that there was a suggestion from some folks who thought that the idea of doing Little Arabia was too radical, maybe? I don't know.
Yes, that's good.
So one suggestion was Mediterranean town. And then another one was Falafel town.
Unbelievable.
But we thought we'll stick with Little Arabia.
We'll stick with Little Arabia. Is the better word. And it just come, you know, and I remember hearing why don't you call it? Why does it have to be Little Arabia? Why not the multicultural district? Because there's all the other people there. But we keep saying, where other communities see Little Arabias?
Or telling us, why not call it Americans? Aren't we all Americans?
Are we all Americans? And we are Americans. But there's something special about having a specific district. And I think one thing, Mervet, you said that I really think we should all think about, everybody in the audience, us as a community, was how hesitant the community was about having this name. Because one thing about that term, Little Gaza, was that, as you mentioned, the crime and everything like that, there was other members of the community that, you know, they weren't Arab, they will call it the Gaza Strip as a derogatory term. The community then took the name back, saying Little Gaza, Little Arabia, we're proud of this district. However, the community struggles, and we still struggle to this day, to fight this misconception. And that's why I think it was important that it was scary and it was hard for the three of us at the time behind those closed doors to really push for that designation. But we really did it because we need to prove that, you know, all those scares and all those fears that the community has, we can beat it. It doesn't matter. It's all hearsay. It's not true. So that's something I want to lead to now is the designation. You know, the conversations that we had together, but also the conversation we had with the city and the community. You know, what was, you know, the one thing I felt when I was going through it was I just knew that this whole thing was bigger than us. That's really what it was. When I was working with these three, the community in large, I knew that this was bigger than us, and we had to push for it. And that's what kept reminding me. That's what kept pushing. But there was conversations that we had where, what does it mean? Where would the district be lied? Who's included? How do we define it? Those were tough conversations to have. What was going through your guys' mind when we were having those conversations? Because they were interesting for sure. They were interesting.
It always felt like council members who were opposed to it, or that former mayor, or other folks, wanted to find any excuse to deflect, to just not talk about Little Arabia, or to postpone it. You know, one time it's, you know, what about all the other communities? One time it's, the next was, you know, let's first do a study. Or my favorite, actually, it's not really my favorite, but when one of the council members went and told us, did you ask all the community, all the residents? And we did.
And we actually did.
We did.
We literally
did.
did.
A scientific survey in partnership with a professor at UC San Diego, actually. And we did a whole poll of the city of Anaheim and how they felt about Little Arabia, and a majority was supportive. But that was not enough for some of them.
A scientific survey was not enough.
A scientific survey was not enough for some of them. So it always felt like whatever we do, it wasn't enough, but it was just a tactic to delay and postpone.
You know, these little blocks that the city councils would do and the community would do, that's what prevented us from having representation and getting the district.
That's right.
I remember when I started with the AACC, one of my jobs was to go to the city council every meeting, and I would tell a story. I would advocate for Little Arabia. I remember when Harry Sudhu was let go, there was an individual in the back that would yell over me as I was speaking. They had to stop the speech. They had to stop me talking because he was being so loud against me talking about Harry Sudhu's impact on the Arab American community. Like, this is true, you guys. This is true how much people try to drown our voices away and try to keep it away. And I think one thing that we were so successful in after having those conversations between each other and having all that work was from that moment, we were empowering the community. We didn't just sit back and say, we're going to have these closed doors conversations anymore. We went to everybody that's in this district, some people who are in this event right now. You all came to us and we came to you and we worked together. And I thought that was so impactful for us to, one, talk to each other, two, have these hard conversations. We had some hard conversations, right? We had
tough conversations.
We had some debates.
We had some tough conversations.
Yeah. But what was it like for that process? And specifically, I wanted you guys to think about the day of the designation. When we brought like 100 people to that, what was that like?
That was a process. That was actually my favorite part of
that was
the
easiest.
designation.
Yeah, that's
because
that was actually the easiest part, believe it or not.
We were told we weren't going to get it.
I want to mention the process of getting folks to come to City Hall, and it wasn't only the day of the designation, but many meetings before that.
Yes.
And I remember Amin and I talking to people, recruiting them, and Amin doing workshops on effective ways to give a public comment. A lot of people have never been to City Hall, and this was an opportunity to bring Arab community members and other folks to come and advocate. And I remember many folks went for the first time to City Hall and started speaking. Some of them, it wasn't their first experience, but I remember Ahmed Al-Ahmed, our Mukhtar right here, he came and spoke. Asim at Knafe Cafe, Ihab at Little Arabia Restaurant, they were all there at City Hall speaking in support of the designation. And on the day of designation, we packed the house. There was more than 100 people at City Hall, in the council chamber. Some of them are Arab American. Many of them are not. We had all our friends and allies from all communities there on that evening, all to speak in support of Little Arabia. And I think there was maybe one person who opposed it, but everybody else spoke in support of the designation.
And what we need to note that's really important, that before that day, on August 23rd, back in 2022, before that happened, our honorable council member, Dr. Jose Moreno, at the time for District 3, he wasn't able, back in the day, Harry Tidu intentionally had created a system where you needed 2 people to support whatever agenda item. So in a way, that district or that specific council member was constantly silenced. But then when he left, those rules were changed. And when those rules were changed, I was the first public testimony that asked for the designation. I'm not the first one behind the scenes, because like I said, this is a 20-year battle and uphill battle for us. But I publicly demanded that they finally designate Little Arabia. But then finally in July of 2022, Dr. Jose Moreno was able to put it on the agenda. And that was historic, and that was a big deal. That was a really big deal. And from then on, what we make sure is that every time there was a city council meeting in the city of Anaheim, and I advise everybody here, show up to your council meetings. You have no idea how much power you have. If they don't hear it, they don't see it. If they don't hear it, they don't see it. We kept demanding the designation of Little Arabia. Then we get to August 23rd, 3 years ago, and that's the day of the vote. And it wasn't easy. I want to make sure that people know that long-time leaders in this community, even elected officials, were telling us this was not going to happen. And so it is a big deal that it happened. But the work doesn't stop because we got the designation. I want to make sure we understand that. There are different battles that come after the fact. But I want to make sure I uplift those individuals that help us get there. And when we did bring people to City Council, we had a really diverse coalition. We didn't want them to show them that Little Arabia was just important to Arabs, right? We brought people from all around different counties to show them that, remember, these are people that spend money at Little Arabia. They spend money. This Little Arabia meant something to them. We brought them as a large, diverse coalition to show, because as Arabs, I always feel like we have to show others see value in us in order for us to get something. So that was a really big piece of the puzzle in organizing and advocating for Little Arabia.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy, but we got it. We got that designation. We worked really hard.
Woo!
Everybody here should be proud of themselves for how much they have to push. And now that we got it, let's talk about the future. Let's empower this community a little bit. Let's encourage you all. Because one thing we need more is we need, believe it or not, we got the designation, but we still have to push. We still have to push.
Still have to push.
And so one thing we want to do is remind everybody that you're the community. This is the community here. Everybody in this room, in this venue, or everybody in this park, everybody coming to here, you're the community. Your voice is what matters. And you shouldn't take a no for an answer. You shouldn't take anything lightly. Let's leave with some encouragements. What can we say? Let's talk about the future a little bit and leave you all with some good words.
There's a lot we can do, and there's a lot of work that we have to do to uplift, to improve Little Arabia. It's not just about the sign. It's not just about the sign. But one of the things is implementing the things that the city did. There was a year-long study of Little Arabia that was done, and it's time to implement this. That includes beautifications. That includes doing events like this. That includes bringing more Middle Eastern, Arab-style facade and design in Little Arabia, so that when you come to Little Arabia, you feel like you're in
You're stepping a little bit into Arabia.
Yes, not Aladdin style, but more.
No, I didn't say that.
Shout
I said
out
Arabia. I didn't say that.
So we want to see some improvements, some beautification. But another thing that we got to do is get the businesses together and make sure that they advocate for themselves. Make sure that the process for small businesses to start businesses and improve their businesses is streamlined, and the city works better with our communities, with our small businesses to empower them. These small businesses, these entrepreneurs are working hard. They're working day and night to bring business to Anaheim, to support their families. So we need better support from the city and the city staff.
Okay, so what I want to see the city of Anaheim facilitate business improvements and opening businesses. And of course talk about the things that Rashad talked about improving the facade and making it look more like Little Arabia. I want to see a Arab language center. I want to see a Debka center. I want to see a museum commemorating Palestine. And
It's important, Morgan. It is.
I want to finally see a city council member that's from our community. I do. I want to see that. I really want to see that. So, I think the future is bright, but we cannot sometimes when you win, you kind of kick back a little bit and get too comfortable. I want us not to get too comfortable. It really is a collective effort. No one was paid to do this. We recognize that this matters to our community. We want it to be seen. After seeing the mass dehumanization these past 2 years in Gaza and of our people, you recognize how important it is to be acknowledged and seen. And we do have power here. We do. We don't always win, but you'll never know if you're going to win if you don't try. So, I think the future of Little Arabia is bright. I do.
I hope we all do too. Those are good words. And I hope everybody in this audience and everybody in the crowd, everybody that has came, the businesses, I hope you know that your future is bright. Us sitting here, we've been pushing so hard, and we're going to continue pushing, but we can't do it without you. We can't do it without this community. And all we ask is that you guys continue, everybody in this crowd, all the businesses, all the vendors, everybody just work together as a community, because we can't do this alone. And the city, not the city, but there's forces and there's many people that do not want us to be legitimate.
They don't want us to succeed.
They don't want us to succeed. But you know what? We are succeeding. And our future is bright, as you say.
And can I make a plug for the Arab American Civic Council? Look, when this organization started, I think Rashad did that right out of his car. And right now, they have an actual office. The work that the Arab American Civic Council does is extremely important, because they're constantly encouraging our community to be civically engaged, to vote, regardless of which party preference you have, but to understand that your voice, your presence, and your engagement matters. So please, if you can, donate whatever you can to the Arab American Civic Council. If you want Little Arabia to keep growing, and for us to actually get the full Little Arabia, which is on the Brookhurst corridor, technically it's from Ball to Katella, that's also in the future. We're going to get all of it.
We're going to do it.
But we need your help. We need your support. Please donate to the Arab American Civic Council. Support the events. Talk about these events. Only together will we win. That's it.
And here's a fun way to get involved that we have going on here in this event. I'll just make a plug. We have a special Basha VIP experience. If you guys haven't heard yet, if you go to the AACC booth, you can get a tote bag, you can get the fun tarbush that you get to put in your head. And what that gives you is a bunch of goodies, but also certain discounts across Little Arabia. So we partnered with a bunch of little businesses from Ahada, Sababa. They promised us that if they see you with that tarbush, if they see you with a Basha experience, they'll give you the discount. So that's one way to support us. It's a way to give back to you guys. Please support us in any way that you can. But I think the last words I'll give it to Rashad. And then, I just want to, I know I keep saying it, but I love you all. We can't do this without everybody here. But Rashad, I'll give you the last
Thank you, Amin. This has been a team effort. This has, what made this happen is a village come together, an entire community come together. So thank you all. And I want to give a shout out to Councilman Carlos Leon. He's here, councilman from District 2. By the way, he spoke, before he was a council member, he came with us to City Hall and spoke in favor of the designation. So thank you, Carlos. And we got Al Jabbar too, so thank you for all your support over the years.
I think, my microphone, I'm back. Thank you all. Thank you for giving us your time. I hope you guys learned a little bit. Please ask us any questions. We're more than happy to answer any questions. But one thing I want to ask from you all is please support our local businesses. These are all people that's from here. Please support them. Give yourself a round of applause. Thank you, Rashad. Thank you, Mervet. It's been an honor to work for you guys.
Can I make 2 plugs?
We're going to make 2 plugs, and we're done.
We have a table where we're signing people on to stop